You're being completely selfish, Isabella. My mother's voice cracked like a whip, bouncing off the marble countertops of our Nashville home. The chandelier above cast its cold light on me like an interrogation lamp, turning the kitchen into a courtroom where I was the only defendant. My name is Isabella Reed, and at 31, I was apparently the villain for refusing to drain my savings into my younger sister's newest dream. I gripped the farmhouse sink, trying to steady myself. Across from me, Lila leaned against the counter, perfectly manicured nails wrapped around a glass of sparkling water, as though she were already a star hostess. Her smile was smug, rehearsed like she was auditioning for a reality show. Your sister has vision, my mother pressed, her pearls gleaming against her navy silk blouse. And you? You're just sitting on all that money like some miser. It's not like that, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. I've worked for years for that money. I have plans. Plans? Lila laughed, tossing her caramel blonde hair. Your little data job in Seattle? Please. This is a real chance. My wine bar will be iconic. Live jazz, velvet booths, charcuterie towers. Do you have any idea how many influencers I could pull in? This isn't just a business, Isabella. It's culture. My father, who usually stayed quiet, finally spoke. Izzy, be reasonable. Your sister has that spark. She just needs support. Your job is steady. You can always save more. Steady. Always steady. In our house, that word meant dull, forgettable, background noise. I swallowed hard. I have $140,000 saved, I said quietly, and you want all of it, every penny. It's an investment, Lila shot back instantly. You'd be a partner for once in your life. Think big, Isabella. Don't you want to be part of something glamorous instead of just boring? But all I could think about was the path that had brought me here. A cramped Seattle apartment while I juggled 2 jobs in grad school. Nights lit by the glow of spreadsheets instead of neon signs. Saying no to vacations, to impulse buys, clipping coupons well into my late 20s. Meanwhile, Lila had drifted through a carousel of disasters. The online boutique that crashed in 4 months. The yoga studio that closed in 8 weeks. The exclusive event planning firm that booked one client, our cousin's wedding. Each time, my parents bailed her out, convinced this would be the one. No, I said finally, my voice sharp as glass. I'm sorry, but I won't do it. The silence lasted half a second before the explosion came. How can you be so cruel? My mother cried, pressing her hand dramatically to her chest. After everything we've done for you, my father added, his tone heavy with accusation. I knew it, Lila sneered, her glossy lips curling. You've always been jealous of me, but this is low even for you. I looked at them, really looked at them. My mother, who spent my entire childhood urging me to be more like your sister. My father, who never once asked about the projects that consumed my nights, but proudly attended every one of Lila's ridiculous grand openings. And Lila, dazzling, magnetic Lila, who had never worked a steady job a day in her life, yet somehow always got everything she wanted. I'm not jealous, I said, my voice steady now. I'm done. And with that, I turned and walked out of the kitchen. Upstairs, I pulled out the leather duffel I'd hidden under my old bed days ago. I had seen this coming. Lila's coy hints, her charm offensive, the guilt trip I knew would follow. Isabella Marie Reed, don't you dare walk out that door. My mother's voice shrieked from downstairs as I descended the staircase. I paused at the bottom, turned to face them one last time. A faint smile tugged at my lips. You know what's funny? I asked softly. Not one of you ever asked what my plans were for that money. Because your plans probably involve more spreadsheets and boredom, Lila spat. Some of us actually want to make something of ourselves. I laughed. Not bitterly this time, just with pity. Goodbye. And I walked out the front door, leaving their furious voices ricocheting through the house behind me. The night air outside hit me like a baptism, cool and clean compared to the suffocating heat of my parents' kitchen. I tossed my duffel bag into the back seat of my car and slid behind the wheel. My mother's sobs echoed faintly from the house, mingling with Lila's shrill voice demanding obedience. My father's heavy sigh followed, the sound of a man too weak to ever stand against them. But, as I pulled out of the driveway, leaving the manicured hedges and marble pillars shrinking in the rearview mirror, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. Every mile of highway that stretched between me and that house peeled another layer of guilt off my chest. For years I'd been the dependable one, the silent safety net, the boring but reliable daughter. Tonight, I wasn't their backup plan anymore. In the dim glow of the dashboard, I thought about everything it had taken to save that money. The years of walking home in the Seattle rain because I couldn't afford a car. The frozen dinners eaten at a cramped kitchen table while I pored over graduate statistics. The internships that paid in experience while I worked nights waiting tables just to cover rent. I had sacrificed everything for stability, and now they expected me to hand it all over so Lila could gamble on another fantasy. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. They thought my plans were boring. They thought my life was spreadsheets and numbers. What they didn't know, what they had never bothered to ask, was that I had built something far more ambitious than Lila's velvet lounges and Instagram dreams. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, lighting up with call after call. Mum, Dad, Lila. I powered it off without hesitation. Whatever words they were rehearsing, pleas, accusations, manipulations, they could scream them into the void. By morning, I was boarding a flight to Zurich. The next 24 hours blurred into movement. The press of strangers at the airport, the scent of jet fuel, the quiet awe of watching city lights disappear under a sea of clouds. When the plane finally touched down, dawn was spreading across Switzerland like gold leaf. Snow-dusted peaks pierced the horizon. The air that hit me outside Zurich airport was sharp, pure, almost electric. This was it, the start of my real life. I checked into a modest apartment overlooking Lake Zurich, its waters catching the early light like liquid silver. That evening, I stood at the window with a cup of espresso in hand, listening to the gentle hum of trams. No shouting, no guilt, no comparisons. Just silence, the good kind. For the first time in years, I slept without dreaming of family drama. But my phone, when I powered it on the next morning, was a storm. 23 missed calls, voicemails stacked one after another. Isabella, how could you abandon us like this? My mother's voice cracked. You're tearing this family apart, my father thundered in another, and Lila, sweet, spoiled Lila, alternated between rage and desperation. You've ruined everything. Fine, maybe just half the money, even 20%. You owe me that much. I listened to none of them in full. With a single swipe, I sent them all to voicemail. Because here in Zurich, I had bigger things to focus on. Tomorrow was my first day at Helios Strategies, one of Europe's leading renewable energy firms. A job I had fought for with sleepless nights, endless applications, and interviews that demanded everything I had. They thought I was boring. They thought I was steady. They thought I was their family ATM. What they didn't know was that I had finally stepped into the life I had been building brick by brick, and this time they wouldn't get a single piece of it. 3 months in Zurich passed like a dream I didn't want to wake from. Each morning, I walked through the glass atrium of Helios Strategies, the headquarters gleaming under the European sun, and I felt the weight of my past life dissolve. My days were filled with data models, policy negotiations, and high-stakes strategy meetings. For the first time, my voice mattered, not as background noise to someone else's vision, but as the architect of ideas that could reshape Europe's energy future. Within weeks, I wasn't just another strategist. I was leading a project worth billions, designing renewable energy grids across multiple countries. My colleagues treated me with respect. My ideas sparked debates, solutions, breakthroughs. The same steady, boring qualities my family mocked had become my greatest strength. Then came the recognition. One morning, my CEO, Henrik, walked into my office, his tall frame casting a shadow across my desk. He slid a folder toward me. "Isabella, you should see this." I opened it and froze. Forbes wanted to feature me in their 30 under 35 innovators in energy. The magazine's spread included an invitation to deliver a keynote at the World Economic Forum in Davos. I could almost hear my sister's mocking voice in my head. Spreadsheets and boredom. But here was proof that my work wasn't just important, it was world-shaping. That evening, sitting on my balcony with the city lights dancing across Lake Zurich, my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in months. My father. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Isabella," he said, his voice smaller than I remembered. We saw the Forbes article and the Davos invite." "Yes." My tone was calm, professional. "Why didn't you tell us about Zurich? The job? Any of it?" "You never asked, Dad," I replied quietly. "You were too busy calling me selfish for not funding Lila's wine bar." Silence stretched across the line, broken only by his sigh. Then he admitted the truth. The bar fell through. There were legal issues, investors pulled out. It was a disaster. I closed my eyes, listening to the hum of the city below. For the first time in my life, I felt no guilt, no responsibility to swoop in and save them. Just freedom. The calls came more often after that. My mother's tone shifted, no longer angry but syrupy sweet. "Darling, the Hendersons saw your feature. Everyone at the club is so proud of you. Why didn't you tell us?" Translation. She wanted to brag. Lila's messages were more desperate. "Okay, so the wine bar didn't work out, but I've got this incredible idea for an eco-friendly beauty brand. You have the connections now. Introduce me to your investors. Just half your salary advance, even 20% will do. Come on, Izzy, don't be petty." I didn't reply. But then Henrik knocked on my door with a bemused expression. "Funny thing, your sister called the office yesterday, said she had extensive experience running businesses and wanted an executive role here." I stared at him, stunned. "What did you tell her?" "That we were fully staffed with qualified strategists," he said with a chuckle. She didn't take it well. For the first time, I laughed. Really laughed. Lila was trying to worm her way into my world, but she didn't realize she was playing on a field built on grit, not glamour. As the snow fell over Zurich that night, I stood by my window looking at the Alps glowing under the moonlight. My family thought I would come crawling back, wallet open, pride tucked away. Instead, I had climbed higher than they ever imagined, and I wasn't done yet. The first time I stepped onto the stage at Davos, I thought my knees might buckle. Rows of world leaders, economists, and global CEOs filled the auditorium, their eyes fixed on me. The lights were blinding, the cameras poised, yet the moment I opened my mouth, the fear melted away. "My name is Isabella Reed," I began, voice steady, "and I believe the future of energy isn't in fossil fuels or fleeting trends, but in building systems that endure." Slides lit up behind me, sustainable grids, carbon reduction models, cities glowing with clean energy. I spoke about data, strategy, the unseen scaffolding that could hold up a greener world. The same things my family once dismissed as boring now held the room in rapt attention. When I finished, Applause thundered through the hall. That night, back in my Zurich apartment, I sipped espresso on the balcony while the city shimmered like a constellation below. My phone buzzed again, voicemail after voicemail. My mother's voice had transformed into something dripping with false pride. "Darling, you were extraordinary. Everyone at the country club saw your speech. They couldn't stop talking about how brilliant you were." My father's was similar. "Princess, we had no idea your work was this significant. The dean at Vanderbilt called me personally, said we must be proud." But then came the one that made my stomach twist. Lila, her voice smooth but frantic. "Isabella, I saw your speech. You looked incredible. Listen, I've been working on something new, an eco-friendly beauty line. With your investors and your connections, this could be huge. Think about it. Sisters changing the world together." I deleted it without hesitation. Still, they didn't stop. They began circling like vultures that smelled opportunity. Invitations to family dinners, desperate pleas disguised as pride. Suddenly, I was no longer the selfish one. I was the golden ticket. A week later, Henrik knocked on my office door again, a wry smile tugging at his mouth. "You'll like this. We got a package today." I raised an eyebrow. "From who?" "Your parents," he said, sliding a glossy folder across my desk. Inside were mock-ups of Lila's new brand. Eterna Beauty, splashed across recycled cardboard in pastel tones. They asked us to consider partnership opportunities. I couldn't help it. I laughed. A real, belly-deep laugh that startled even me. My family still thought everything in my life was negotiable, that I would cave the way I always had, but they didn't realize something had changed. 2 nights later, as I stood under the dazzling lights of a gala celebrating global innovators, my phone buzzed again. Another call from home. I ignored it, stepping onto the stage as the host introduced me. Cameras flashed, champagne glasses clinked, and the audience leaned in as I raised the award I had just received. "Boring, Isabella," I thought, staring into the sea of applause. The steady one, the safe one. Tonight, I was the woman rewriting the rules. Back in Nashville, I knew they were watching the news coverage. My parents would be beaming in front of their friends, pretending they had always believed in me. And Lila, she would be furious, scrambling to turn her envy into another half-baked plan. But here, thousands of miles away, their noise couldn't reach me. The Alps stood tall outside my window. The trams hummed quietly down the streets. And my life, my real life, was finally mine. And then, just when I thought I'd heard the last of their desperation, an email landed in my inbox with the subject line, "Urgent, please help your sister." The subject line glared at me from my screen. "Urgent, please help your sister." Against my better judgment, I opened it. The words hit like a punch. "Lila has been arrested for fraud. Investors are threatening lawsuits. We don't know what to do. Please, Isabella, she needs you. We need you." My breath stilled. Fraud. It wasn't just another failed business or unpaid bill this time. Lila had crossed the line into crime. Attached were shaky scans of legal documents, court summons, bank statements with numbers circled in red. She had promised investors exclusive access to products that didn't even exist. Hundreds of thousands vanished into thin air. And now, predictably, my parents wanted me to fix it. That evening, I sat on my balcony overlooking Lake Zurich, the city glowing gold under the last threads of sunlight. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who would have dropped everything, emptied her savings, sacrificed her future to rescue the family who never once rescued her. But that girl didn't live here anymore. I didn't reply to the email. The next morning, as I walked into Helios headquarters, Henrik met me at the door with a grin. "Big day? Isabella." The UN Climate Summit sent the final confirmation. You're the keynote speaker. All expenses covered, honorarium included. He paused, eyeing the phone in my hand. Something wrong? I showed him the email. He frowned. And you're thinking of going back? I shook my head slowly. No, for once, I'm not. Later, standing in the vast glass atrium as my team prepared for negotiations, I pulled out my phone and opened my emergency contacts. For years, my parents had been at the top because I thought family was supposed to be automatic. But family had been my leash, not my lifeline. With one deliberate swipe, I deleted their numbers. Then, I added Henrik and 2 trusted colleagues. Done. That evening, I walked on stage at the Climate Summit. Cameras from every corner of the world broadcasted my image, my words. I spoke of renewable grids, of transforming entire nations, of resilience and patience, the kind of steady work that changes everything. The applause that followed was deafening. Back home, I knew my parents and Lila were watching, but this time their opinions didn't matter. Their world was crumbling, while mine was expanding beyond borders. After the summit, as I stood outside under the Geneva night sky, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from Lila. Please. Izzy, I'm facing prison. You're the only one who can save me. My thumb hovered. Then I hit delete. No reply. No rescue. I slipped the phone back into my bag and looked out over the city lights, reflecting on the lake. For the first time, I wasn't the dependable one, the steady one, the boring one. I was simply free. My worth had never been measured by how much I gave up for others. It was measured by the life I built for myself. And tonight, as the cameras flashed and the world leaned in to hear my voice, I knew with absolute clarity I had won.